Hi everybody, welcome to today's tutorial. So today we're going to be building on what we did last week. So last week was working with 360-degree footage in post-production. We did some patching out of nadir patches and shadows and tripods, that sort of thing. We got rid of that director, didn't we, with the content aware fill, that sort of thing. So what we're going to be doing today is more 360-degree post-production work, but this time we're going to be moving the camera. So basically we're going to be taking a shot like this. So this is our 360 shot, this is our actor over here, and obviously what we're doing is we've got the camera mounted on this track. So this is a track you can book out when you're in the second year. Excuse the train going past my house. So what we've got is this camera mounted on this dolly track, as I say, and we've got this guy who's pulling the track, and then this guy over here who's the director, and we've also got some gear left out on a tape, the chair as well. Okay, and so as you can see, what we've got is we've got this kind of dramatic pullback shot as he stands at the window looking about whatever, thinking about something, and we're tracking back, and what we need to do is try and get rid of this guy, this thing, and this bloke here, as well as this track, in order to produce something which looks a bit like this. So this is the final, not brilliantly graded if I'm honest, but the final shot. So yeah, this is the sort of thing. So as you can see, the track has gone, the director is gone, the guy pulling the track has gone, the kit has gone, yeah. And so now what we end up with is just this nice dramatic 360 shot where we're using the panorama of the 360-degree camera to really create the drama of the scene. Obviously it's a little bit distorted, it wouldn't quite look like that in headset because it's all curved, but you're getting the idea. Okay, so let's make a start. So what I've got here, I did a couple of takes of this shot, and so I also did 3 different patch shots. If you're doing this kind of thing yourself, I would certainly take at least 3 different patch shots. I'll explain the patch shots in a second, just to make sure you've got something that you can work with. So after having gone through all these, I think the best combination is take 2 and patch 2. So I may not give you all of these, I'm only just trying to explain what I've done, so I might just give you these 2 to work with. So I'm going to drag main shot 2 over into my project bin, and I'm going to drag patch 2 over into my project bin. So what is patch 2? Well, we saw the first shot, so this is the patch now. This is me doing the track from the other direction, and as you can see, this is where the guy was kneeling before, where he's gone. That's where the director was, where he's gone, and the kit's gone from the sofa. And what we're going to be doing is using this footage behind the camera. So basically we're going to be seeing the original footage over here, which is our main shot all the way through from the side to side, and the bit where all the stuff is we want to get rid of, we're going to be patching a bit of this clip out and replacing that background with this one. Okay, so let's make a start. Let's grab our main shot then. I'm going to drag this down onto the symbol for new composition. So now we've got a new composition in the right format for our 360-degree footage. Okay, so what we're going to do first of all is we're going to play this through until we find that the shot starts to move. So about there, wasn't it, on the sort of 8-second mark. So I'm going to move my workspace area to about the 8-second mark. And now I'm going to drag it through. Now what I'm looking for is this piece of pink tape here. Okay, so what I've done is by putting that piece of tape on at the end away from the main shot, okay, what I'm basically saying is I'm going to use this tape to line up both patch shot and this one at the same point, hopefully on the track. Okay, and then because when the camera's at this end of the track, that's the bit where I need to get this patch most correct, because obviously I'm closest to this part. You see what I mean? So I'm going to move through, I'm going to zoom in, so zoom in using the wheel on my mouse, and then hold down spacebar to move this around, and I'm going to move my playhead marker through until the arm of my rig, there we go, just meets that pink tape. I mean, I could go as far as I want, I could completely cover it, but I'm just going to make it just so it touches that pink tape. That'll do. And I'm going to move my playhead marker in. Cool. So that's my workspace. That's how long my shot's going to last. So I'm going to zoom out. Okay. hold down spacebar and move it around. And what I'm looking for is consistent movement on this shot. So is it consistent? I'd say it's, what I mean by consistent is it moving at the same speed all the way through? I'd say it's a bit slow to begin with. It's obviously not quite got up to race pace yet. Yeah, it needs to speed up a bit, doesn't it? So I think probably about there. So I'm going to move that in. So let's loop that now. See what that looks like. Yeah, just about. That'll be fine. Okay, cool. So that's our workspace then. So what we're going to do now is we're going to bring in our patch shot. And we're going to drag that down to the bottom. Now, because the shot is pulling back, I'm going to move my playhead marker to the end because that's where the pink tape is. Okay, obviously if it was going towards, then it would be at the beginning. Yeah, it doesn't really matter, to be honest, as long as you can you can line it up. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my playhead marker here, and instead of moving the playhead marker along the clip now, because I've already got this clip where I want it, to make sure that they're both in line with one another or in sync with one another, I'm now going to grab my patch 2 clip and I'm going to move it back against the playhead, and gradually I'll get to the point where it starts to move. There we go. Can you see that? So that's pretty much the point where it coincides with the pink tape, doesn't it? If I move that there, remember I'm not moving my playhead marker, I'm moving that. So that's about like there, I guess, isn't it? I'll call it that. Right, so hopefully now those should both be reasonably in sync. So what I'm going to do is open up the properties for patch 2 and I'm going to change the opacity down to about 50%. Okay, and lo and behold, if we zoom in, we can kind of see that they are both just about aligned on the pink tape. You'll find, of course, that they're not quite aligned with one another, which does happen even though it was the same camera on the same rig. I didn't move it or anything when I moved around, but just the way that 360-degree cameras stitch, it's obviously stitched it ever so slightly differently, so it's not quite lining up in terms of the visuals. But that's not a problem because it wasn't going to line up accurately anyway, because obviously the 2 tracks are going to be moving at different speeds, so there's going to be points where they're going to be out of sync anyway. It doesn't really matter too much. All we really want is just this space over here. We just have to work to make sure that that fits in as best we can. Okay, so the thing we're going to do then is we're going to create a mask going around the curve of this roof, down the door and around the floor, masking out this guy, and then back. Okay, and as you can perhaps see, what's going to happen is this mask is going to intersect with bits like the door and this black line on the carpet and this one as well. And so this is actually why I chose to do this shot up here. I think if you're doing this kind of work on other environments, such as, I don't know, outside on grass, for example, or even just on a kind of basic carpet, you probably won't have quite the same problems we're going to have here, but I purposefully chose to do this here so that we've got some issues we're going to have to work with. Okay. As an example, a bit later on, I'm going to choose not to do a content-aware fill because it just doesn't work with this complicated carpet, but I expect on a less complicated floor, you know, like dirt or grass or just a plain carpet or whatever, you probably would be able to use a content-aware fill and you'd probably get away with it. Anyway, I'll explain that a bit later on. So what we're going to try and do now then is we're going to play these clips together and we're going to just try and see if they move at the same speed. So what we're looking for is these bits on the arms of the kit. So making sure that they don't accelerate, one doesn't accelerate ahead of the other one, that sort of thing. So I'm just going to play this through. And I think that's looking pretty consistent. There was a point there, I don't know if you noticed, where one accelerated ahead of the other one. There, like that. But yeah, overall, I think they're pretty much roughly the same. I think there's a point at the end where one moves away from the other and then goes back in. Yeah, so they're never going to be completely consistent. It's not the end of the world. What we're going to try and do, though, is just try and make the best of it. So the most important bits we have to think about are these straight lines, because if these aren't working together, for example, if we were to move this, see, if those were not aligned, then obviously any mask is going to show part of one and part of the other, and it's going to be obvious that there's a cut point there, isn't it? So we've got to just make sure that we keep those bits aligned. So what we can do is we can come over to our effects and presets, and we can open up the immersive video effects presets, and then we can go rotate sphere, VR rotate sphere. We can drag that onto patch 2. And what that allows us to do is to fettle this a little bit. So we could perhaps bring that across ever so slightly. That's lining up. So what I'm looking at here is I'm looking at these marks on the floor. Are they lining up together? And it looks like they are at the moment. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Is that still the same over here? Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Okay, and then at the end, yeah, not bad at all. Okay, so if I was to just show you what I'm looking at, if I was to move this, for example, look, again, you know, they might be out of sync like that, or they might be, if I went too far, a little bit out like that. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I think, to be honest, I think they look fine. These bits, as I say, are the most important. Hopefully you'll see why in a second. So what I'm going to do now then is I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to go to my pen tool, making sure I've highlighted my patch 2. I'm going to click on the outside of the frame, and then I'm going to come over here and drag down to create this curve, which I'm going to try and match to the curve of the roof. I'm not going to go across the lights, because obviously if I do that, then they're going to be sort of half and half. It's going to be half of light from one and half light from the other, and they're not going to line up properly. So I'm going to try and avoid the lights. I'm going to zoom in next, and I'm going to try and just click to the bottom of this door. But obviously, because this was such a strong curve, it's now curved this bit to compensate. So I'm going to zoom out one. I'm going to hold down the Option key on my keyboard, and that's going to give me this open arrow, which is going to allow me to push my mask back in to try and line it up with the door. Okay, holding down spacebar, I'm going to move that around and then click down here, and I'm going to just try and curve this mask a little bit to try and match this sort of curve of the pattern of the carpet. I mean, if I was perhaps going to, you know, if I was having problems with it, I might move this point over here to try and curve the whole thing up to that door, you know, but anyway, I've done it now. But yeah, actually that might have made a nicer mask. If you're watching this through before you do it, perhaps try clicking over there and then straight down this part of the door, and then use that curve to match this part of the carpet. But anyway, I'll leave it as it is for now. Then curving around like so, that kind of matches the curve of the carpet as well, sort of. And then out here like that, that'll do, and then like so. Okay, so that's my mask. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up masks, and I'm going to go to mask 1, and I'm just going to feather the edge of that out a little bit. Okay, so what you'll find, I don't know if you can see in the middle of the screen here, I'm getting a little glitch, which as I feather my mask moves back and forth. It's not, I mean, it's an annoying little thing. I don't know if it'll do it on your computers or not, but it's been plaguing me, so I'm not gonna try and deal with it. But if you're finding that on your computers, then let me know and I'll come and see if I can give you a hand trying to get rid of it, because it seems to be that sometimes you can get rid of it by making another mask and dragging it off the screen and it'll go with it, and sometimes it doesn't. I think it's just a glitch because I'm doing a screen recording at the same time, and it's just, you know, it's just annoying me. But anyway, we'll see. Right, so if I now move the opacity back up to 100%, so you can now see what's going on. We've got our mask from our patch, and that's got rid of all those bits we wanted to get rid of, and then the rest of the shot is the original shot. Okay, and so if I now hold down Shift, Command and H, I can see my mask without the lines, and it's looking pretty good. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, Shift, Command and H to get those lines back up. I'm now going to turn on mask path and mask expansion, because the likelihood is that as my scene moves, I'm going to need to move my mask. Okay, and I'm going to drag it to the end, and lo and behold, what's happened, of course, is now my mask needs to alter. So I'm going to come up to my arrow, and I'm going to move first of all this this point up to there, and I'm going to move this one like so and drag this handle up like that. That'll do. And zoom in and move that to there, just so it's kind of overlapping the door. And now I'm going to move this point back like so. There we go, and that's obviously moved my point rather annoyingly. But yeah, as I say, this line here, we're just going to have to bear with me, because I think that's just because I'm doing a screen recording. And I've also got a ghost of a foot here as well, so I'm just going to move that down like that. Okay. Right then, now it's not quite aligning with the curvature of the carpet, so I'm just going to do that as well. There we go. Right then, so let's play our scene through. Is there anything jumping out? Doesn't look like it. So I think we are good to progress to the next stage then. So now I'm going to just press play and we're going to play through our scene, and yep, so far so good, I think. I can't see any problems with that. So what we're going to do now then, so as you perhaps see, hopefully able to see, this is moving at a slightly inconsistent speed compared to the main shot now, you know, but it's consistent enough that honestly we're not really going to notice it unless we're specifically looking for it. And the thing that I really like is that these lines aren't looking too bad. Now, of course, the one problem we've got is we can't see how well this line over here is lining up. We can see this one, and if we take our Shift Command H, we can zoom in, we can see that actually it's lined up really nicely. Okay. Another little tip is, even if you don't want to, or you're finding it hard to use these rotate spheres, if it was out by a pixel or two, the other thing you can do, of course, is just click on your mask and just shift the position by using your arrow keys. You know, so can you see I'm shifting the whole thing up there? Yeah, which obviously that's what would happen if it was out of sync. So you could just, you know, out of alignment, I mean. So you could just bring that back like so. Okay. So that was just me moving the whole patch around now. But yeah, that's looking pretty good. Now the final thing I'm going to do, just to test whether this line is matching up with this line, is I can use a VR effect to try and figure that one out. But actually what I'm going to do to save mucking about with my two layers is I'm just going to do a simple effect which we've used before. I'm going to highlight both, right click, and pre-compose into a single composition, and then I'm just going to come over here and I'm going to add the sphere effect that we know from building planets, drag that on, and there's my clip now in sphere form, and all I need to do is click on my rotation and rotate it around, and we will see that's looking pretty good. Yeah, looking pretty good. As I say, you could use an effect from a VR over there, but yeah, it's just because we've used this effect before, you can kind of hopefully get a sense of what it is that I'm trying to do. Right, so I'm going to undo that effect, undo the pre-composition, there we go, and that is our patched clip, and so that's now ready to go. And now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this track, and in order to do that, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to render this out, because I want this to be completely clean. I don't want to have any layers interfering with one another, so I'm going to render this out so that patch is now completely baked in to this final shot. Okay, composition, add to render queue, and what I'm going to do is click on lossless, and then I'm going to go into format options. The animation codec doesn't really work wonderfully well for 360 footage, so what I'm going to do is go to Apple ProRes 444 extra quality, okay, to make sure I don't lose anything. So remember the idea behind 444, I'm completely keeping everything in my shot. Okay, and then click OK, and I'm going to call this main shot patch stage 1 into my documents. I'm going to click save, and I'm going to render that out, and I shall see you in the next video. Hi everybody, I've just come to the end of the second tutorial and realised that I didn't explain something properly right at the beginning. So this may or may not cause you a problem. So what I've done is I purposefully got the shot looking like this, so that with the patch at the beginning I could see the whole patch. Okay, but of course when you've finished your shot, what you probably want to do is go to your VR rotate sphere effect, and then literally just drag this so that the main bit of the shot that you want features in the center, like so. Okay, so obviously then you're going to play it so that that's dead center, and then the bit that you've just done is overlapping at the edge of the equirectangular. The reason why we didn't do that in the first place, though, of course, is because we needed to have that patch more consistently across. So the idea was the shot, you can see the main part of the shot over here, and then you can see the whole of the patch unbroken, so we can create that mask. Do you see what I mean? Once you finish, though, of course, you can just click VR Rotate Sphere and then produce that effect to get that like so. Okay. If you're wondering why I did the sphere effect earlier, though, rather than the VR Rotate Sphere to check that this line was aligned, it's purely because I've found in the past that when I've done pre-comps on 360 footage and then added the VR Rotate Sphere, it hasn't worked as well with pre-comps for some reason, and they've sort of gone slightly out of alignment. Don't ask me why, maybe it's a glitch with my version of After Effects. Whereas the non-VR effects on a pre-comp, like the CC Sphere, seem to work fine. So that's why I did that. So perhaps I ought to have explained that really in the previous video. But anyway, I've sort of covered it now. So hopefully that's something that you can kind of take on board for when you're shooting your own stuff. Okay, right, go off and shoot your own stuff, as I say, and I shall look forward to seeing what you come up with. Nice one.